Right now, while you are sitting here watching this, your heart is doing something extraordinary. It is beating, quietly, without you asking it to. And tonight, while you sleep, it will keep going, roughly 60 to 80 times a minute, through the dark, through the silence, through every hour you are completely unaware. But here is what almost nobody tells you. For people over 60, the hours between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. are the most dangerous hours of the day for your cardiovascular system. Not during exercise, not during stress. During sleep, and a large portion of heart attacks and strokes that happen during those hours are connected to things people did the evening before. Ordinary things. Things that feel completely harmless. By the end of this, you will know exactly what those things are, why they matter, and what a simple evening routine looks like that could meaningfully lower your risk. You can start it tonight. Let me be perfectly clear about something. Most people believe that if they are not feeling chest pain, not feeling dizzy, not noticing any obvious symptoms, their heart is fine while they sleep. That belief makes sense. It feels logical. If nothing hurts, nothing is wrong. But your cardiovascular system does not work like a car alarm that only goes off when something breaks. It works more like a river. The changes that lead to a heart attack or stroke happen quietly, gradually, over time, in the conditions you create each night without realizing it. Blood thickness, pressure patterns, temperature, oxygen levels, timing of medications. These things are all shifting while you sleep, and most people have never once thought about them. That gap between what feels safe and what the evidence actually shows is exactly what this video is about. After enough years in medicine, you start seeing the same pattern told by different people, same age, similar habits, similar outcomes. I have spoken with patients who are doing everything right during the day, walking, eating reasonably well, keeping their appointments, and yet something was happening at night, quietly, that nobody had ever flagged. A patient like many I have seen over the years came in after what we call a silent event. No dramatic chest clutching. He woke up feeling off. By the time we looked at the numbers, the damage had already been done. When I walked through his evenings with him, we found 5 things, 5 completely ordinary habits he had been doing for years. None of them felt dangerous. All of them were adding up. That is why I want to walk you through these 5 things today. Each one is specific, backed by evidence, and more importantly, each one is fixable. Starting tonight. Number 1. Late night eating. This one comes up more than almost anything else in conversations with patients over 60. Here's the simple version. Your digestive system and your cardiovascular system share resources. When you eat a heavy meal, your body redirects blood flow toward digestion. Your heart works harder. Your blood pressure rises. Your triglycerides, those are the fats in your blood, spike. Now during the day, your body handles this reasonably well. But at night, your body is supposed to be entering a recovery mode. Heart rate slows, blood pressure naturally dips. Your cardiovascular system gets a rest it genuinely needs. When you eat a large meal after 8 p.m., you are essentially asking your heart to do 2 things at once: recover and work. Think of it like asking someone to sleep and run on a treadmill at the same time. Research published in the European Heart Journal and supported by findings from multiple large observational studies has consistently shown that late evening caloric intake is associated with elevated blood pressure and triglyceride levels during nighttime hours, which is precisely when your cardiovascular system should be resting. This matters more after 60 because your body's ability to regulate these processes efficiently changes with age. The recovery window gets narrower. The spikes hit harder. If you are going to eat in the evening, earlier is better. Finishing your main meal by 6 or 7 p.m. gives your body several hours to process before sleep. A small, light snack before bed is not the same thing as a full dinner at 10 p.m. That distinction matters. This is something worth mentioning to your doctor, especially if you've been told your blood pressure runs high at night. And number 2 is actually what explains why some people's blood pressure is most dangerous, precisely when they feel safest. Number 2, medication timing. Most people with high blood pressure, and that is a very large number of people over 60, take their medication in the morning. That feels right. You wake up, you take your pill, you go about your day. But there is a condition called nocturnal hypertension. Nocturnal means nighttime. Hypertension means high blood pressure. And what it describes is something that has been documented consistently in the research. In a significant number of people, blood pressure does not drop naturally during sleep the way it should. It stays elevated, or it rises, and because they are asleep, they have no idea. A major study known as the Hygeia chronotherapy trial, published in the European Heart Journal, looked at thousands of patients over several years and found that taking blood pressure medication at bedtime rather than in the morning was associated with better blood pressure control overnight and a meaningfully lower rate of cardiovascular events. The researchers described this as a significant finding. Now, I am not telling you to change when you take your medication. I want to say that clearly. Do not adjust your medications without speaking to your doctor. What I am telling you is that this is a real, documented phenomenon, and it is worth a 2-minute conversation. Ask your doctor specifically whether the timing of your blood pressure medication has been evaluated based on your nighttime readings. If your doctor has never checked your blood pressure at night or suggested a home monitor to track overnight patterns, that conversation is worth having. Most people have never asked. Most doctors in a busy clinic have never brought it up. But the research is there, and it is meaningful. Number 3 is the one most people in this age group have and genuinely do not know it. Number 3, undiagnosed sleep apnea. Sleep apnea. Your airway partially or fully closes while you sleep. You stop breathing for a moment. Your brain panics. It sends a surge of adrenaline, that is your fight or flight hormone, through your body. Your heart rate spikes. Your blood pressure jumps. And then you start breathing again. And this can happen dozens, sometimes hundreds of times in a single night. The problem is most people who have it do not know. They wake up tired and assume that is just aging. Their partner mentions snoring. They ignore it. Nobody connects the dots. The cardiovascular connection is serious and well established. Research from the American Heart Association and multiple peer-reviewed sleep medicine journals has consistently linked untreated obstructive sleep apnea with significantly elevated risk of atrial fibrillation, which is an irregular heart rhythm, as well as heart attack and stroke. The repeated oxygen drops and adrenaline surges throughout the night put enormous cumulative stress on the heart. Here is the counterintuitive part that surprises most of my patients. The snoring itself is not the main problem. The pauses are. The silence. The moments where breathing stops entirely. If your partner has ever said you stop breathing in your sleep, or if you wake up feeling like you never really rested, that is information worth taking seriously. A sleep study, which can now often be done at home with a kit your doctor orders, can tell you definitively whether this is happening. If it is, treatment with something called a CPAP machine, which gently keeps the airway open, has been shown in research to reduce cardiovascular risk meaningfully. Please do not ignore snoring. Please do not assume it is harmless. It is worth one conversation with your doctor. Number 4, evening dehydration. This one is genuinely counterintuitive, and it is something I want you to think about carefully. Many people over 60 deliberately stop drinking water in the late afternoon and evening. The reason is completely understandable. They do not want to wake up at 2 or 3 a.m. to use the bathroom. Nighttime bathroom trips are disruptive, uncomfortable, and for some people, a fall risk. So they restrict fluids. They go to bed mildly dehydrated. And that decision, made for completely logical reasons, has a cardiovascular consequence most people have never considered. When you are dehydrated, your blood becomes thicker, more viscous. Think of it like the difference between water and syrup. Thicker blood is harder for your heart to pump, and thicker blood moves more slowly through your arteries. If you have any narrowing in those arteries, which is extremely common after 60 and often goes undetected, thicker, slower-moving blood creates a significantly higher risk of clot formation. Evidence from cardiovascular research consistently shows that mild to moderate dehydration is associated with increased blood viscosity and elevated clotting risk. The overnight fasting period you already experience makes this worse. You are not drinking for 8 or more hours regardless. Starting that period already dehydrated compounds the problem. The simple adjustment: drink a full glass of water around 7 p.m. Keep a small glass of water on your nightstand. If you wake up, take a few sips, staying reasonably hydrated through the evening, and rehydrating gently if you wake. Gives your blood a fighting chance to keep moving the way it should while you sleep. And number 5 ties everything together in a way most people have genuinely never considered. Number 5, bedroom temperature. Your bedroom temperature directly affects your cardiovascular system while you sleep. This is not a small thing or a comfort preference. It is a physiological reality. When your bedroom is too warm, above roughly 72 degrees Fahrenheit, your body works to cool itself down. Your blood vessels near the surface of your skin dilate, and your heart has to pump harder to move blood to the skin so heat can escape. This is called thermoregulatory stress. For a young, healthy heart, manageable. For a heart already dealing with narrowed arteries, mild dysfunction, or elevated blood pressure, it is an unnecessary additional burden throughout the night. When your bedroom is too cold, below roughly 63 degrees Fahrenheit, the opposite happens. Blood vessels constrict. Blood pressure rises. Your heart has to work harder against that resistance. Cold-related cardiovascular events are well documented in the research literature, particularly in older adults. The sweet spot that researchers consistently point to is between 65 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit. In that range, your body's thermoregulation is minimal. Your heart gets to focus on recovery instead of temperature management. If you do not have precise temperature control, a fan, appropriate bedding, or simply cracking a window can make a meaningful difference. Let me give you something concrete now. Not vague advice. A real, simple plan. The kind I walk through with patients before they leave my office. Finish your main meal by 6 or 7 in the evening, not a snack. Your main meal. Give your heart the time it needs before you sleep. Around 7 p.m., drink a full 8-ounce glass of water. Take any medications you have at the time your doctor recommends. And if you have never discussed whether your blood pressure medication timing has been evaluated, make a note to ask. Between 8 and 9 p.m., start winding down. Screens off or dimmed. This is not just about sleep hygiene. The stress response from late-night news, social media, or even emotionally engaging content can elevate cortisol, that is your body's stress hormone, and keep your cardiovascular system activated when it needs to be calming. At 9 p.m., set your thermostat to between 65 and 72 degrees. Put a small glass of water on your nightstand. Not a full bottle, a small glass. Enough for a few sips if you wake. By 10 p.m., try to be in bed. And if you can, sleep on your side rather than your back. Research consistently suggests that back sleeping can worsen airway obstruction in people with even mild sleep apnea. Side sleeping helps keep the airway clearer. That is the whole plan. No supplements, no expensive equipment, no complicated routines. 5 small decisions starting tonight. Before I let you go, I want to say something directly. Everything I have shared with you today is based on current published research and patterns I have observed across many years of working with patients. It is educational information. It is not a diagnosis. It is not a prescription. It is not a replacement for your own medical care. You are a unique person with a unique history, unique medications, and unique needs. Your own doctor, the one who knows your chart, is always the right first call for anything specific to your situation. What I hope today gives you is better questions to bring into that room. Ask about your nighttime blood pressure. Ask about sleep apnea if you snore or wake up exhausted. Ask whether your medication timing has ever been evaluated. These are not complicated questions, but they are ones that often go unasked. I have seen what happens when people ignore the small things long enough for them to become big things. That is not a place I want you to be, which is exactly why I make these videos. Tell me something. Which of these 5 things did you already know about, and which one are you going to address starting tonight? I read every comment. I genuinely mean that. If you are over 60 and you are taking your heart health seriously, type the words "protecting my heart" in the comments below. I want to see how many of us are paying attention. If this gave you something real today, something you can actually act on, hit like. Not for the algorithm, for the next person who needs to find this information and has not found it yet. Your next video is already waiting. It is about something that happens inside your arteries every single night after 60. A process with no pain, no obvious symptoms that most people only discover after a serious event has already occurred. It is one of the most important conversations I have had on this channel. Watch it next.